One thing that's been on my mind quite a bit lately is the difference between manifestation and surrender. And if you have a perspective for me where both are aligned on the same path, I'd love to hear it. So, manifestation is something I learned about, probably one of the first kind of spiritual woo wooey things I'd ever heard of. My mother in law had been asking us to watch The Secret, and I was resistant to it for a long time. I think we had the book in our house, we had the DVD in our house, and just never watched it. And then it actually came on Netflix, and I sat down with my wife and watched it. We were living in a very drafty, uh, moist, like the water would just come in when it was raining. We were living in quite an unhealthy rental property at the time, but we were grateful for that house. We actually had a beautiful time living in that house. It's where our oldest child, Cora, our daughter, that's where she spent the first part of her life, was in that house. But we were very accepting of what we had and very grateful for what we had. And then we watched The Secret, and it was kind of like this, ooh, this is a challenge. It became like a fun game between me and my wife. You know, you watch it and they talk about you can manifest getting a parking spot when you go to the mall or something like that. And every time we'd go to the mall, we'd be like, did you manifest us a car park right outside the door? Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. I remember one time I was telling my wife, Catherine, about manifestation and how I thought I had cracked it, like I knew how to make it happen. And I explained my thoughts at the time to her about it. And I was like, so would you like to manifest something? And she was like, it's really hot today and we don't have any sunscreen. I'd love some sunscreen. And I was like, well, just manifest it. And we walked about 5 steps, and there on the ground was a bottle of full sunscreen. And there was nobody else around in this place at all. There's no sign of any other person. It was just sitting there in the grass. And I sort of told her, fuck you. Because I was like, man, I've been really working hard at this. And then I just tell you and you got it. But anyway, we watched The Secret, living in that house. And we had never even contemplated becoming homeowners. That's just something that seemed like it was out of our realm of possibility. We met in university and we're poor students, and we kind of just lived on the edge of how much we made from then on. We weren't like getting ahead. We were just, going week to week like most people are. But then we watched that movie and we started being open to this happening. And I think it took about a year and we were moving into a house that we owned, where the mortgage payments a week were actually cheaper than the rent we were paying. We actually couldn't have afforded to stay in that crappy rental property as the rent was going up. Yeah, so we moved into that house, and it was a house that had a reputation for having a lot of like people on drugs living there and things like that. There was a hill at the back of the property, and at the top of that hill there were like 200 tires up on the top of that hill. I don't know what they were doing with these tires. And when we bought it, I told the real estate agent, one of the terms of us buying this property is, can you please tell the previous owners to get rid of these tires? And he was like, I'm not going to put it in the contract, but I promise you it will be done. And then when we moved in, the tires were still there. And I called him up and I was like, hey, mate, the tires are still here. And he was like, no, they're not. I got rid of them myself. He thought I was talking about 5 tires in the garage. He'd never been up the back of the property. He didn't know there were 200 tires up there. So he had to come back with a big skip bin and get rid of all those tires. And anyway, that's a detour off that story. With the previous tenants being druggies or whatever they were doing in that house, the owners had to pull down all the internal walls. The previous tenants had stolen the hot water cylinder. There was nothing inside, so they had gutted it out and completely redone the inside of the house. So on the inside of that house, it was like a brand new property. The back where the hill was just overgrown grass and tires. Once the tires were gone, I got a weed whacker out, started weed whacking up that hill to find that there were actually stairs going up the hill. There were concrete paths going through the hill. There were lovely stone walls on the side of that hill, and once I had weed whacked that all down, it was like this beautiful zen area. There was like a place in the back for a water feature that was still there. I never got running. And there was at the top of the hill, there was a concrete pad where you'd have like an altar. I don't know if some kind of Buddhist or somebody like that was living there before us or built that home, but it was definitely somebody who was into a bit of tranquility, and it was beautiful. But we manifested that happening. Once we manifested that, we went, well, I guess we could manifest any life we want. And we were having more kids. My wife was working full time. I was stay-at-home parent. We were hardly seeing each other. She was exhausted. And we thought, well, if we could just do anything, what would we do? And we thought, well, we would move to some land that we owned, because we had gotten into gardening and reducing our waste and living more sustainable and more in line with nature kind of lives in a suburb. We thought we could expand that to having our own land and building our own home on that land. So we put our energy into manifesting that, and that's where I'm sitting right now. Is we have 6 acres of land. I'm sitting in one of the rooms on that land that we built ourselves. We have gardens, we have a tunnel house, we have a glass house. We're growing a lot of our own food. We're making balms and tinctures and herbal medicines and things like that. But that's been a 7-year journey. We've been on this land for about 5 years. And I come to a point of this video where I've been talking about manifestation or surrender, or whether they are the same thing, where it doesn't matter what you manifest. I found that out. If you manifest, you're like, wow, I'm going to have this amazing thing. You feel great about it. You're visualizing it like you've already got it. You are not letting any negative thoughts come in. You're not letting anybody else's influence touch you, because you're so focused on having this goal and how you're going to go about, how you're going to get it. Not how, but that it's going to happen. And no matter, you don't know the path, you don't know when, but it's going to happen. What am I talking about? You're so focused on this manifestation, and it can feel like, when I get this, then I'm just going to feel amazing. And you do feel amazing when you manifest something, but everything settles back into sort of, I don't know if you want to call it default mode, but everything settles back into like, this is just where we live. Other people come here and they look around and they go, it's so beautiful. And we look around and go like, well, it's home, just like anyone else. It's home. Even our lifestyle that we're living now, it's just life, life isn't the big things that you can look at from the outside. It's the day to day little things that you do every day. And doesn't matter how your life is, you can be up here or you can be down here. What you manifest in life isn't going to make great change to who you are. That's an inside job. And I'll make a video about that another time. I've done plenty of that as well. But surrender is something I've been thinking about a lot more, and it seems to me to be running opposed to manifestation. So surrender is when you acknowledge that there is a higher power, which I do. How could manifestation work if there isn't something connecting us all? So I think anybody who believes in manifestation on some level must believe in some kind of universal connection between everything. And if you want to call that God, you want to call that the universe, you want to call that Halabaludva, whatever you want to call that, it's I acknowledge that as being a higher power. So when you're manifesting, you're thinking about what it is you want as if you've got it. You're feeling the emotion of having it. You're visualizing it. You're not letting in the outside world to affect you. And you're putting in action to make that happen. But when you're surrendering, it's a lot scarier. It's, I don't know what is coming up for me. I don't know how I'm going to support myself and my family. I don't know if this is even going to go in a direction that I believe is good for us. But surrendering is saying to that higher power, I have so much faith in you, and I have experienced so much evidence of your divine nature. I have seen it. I have felt it. That I am surrendering over my will of I'm not going to chase things with my ego in order to go look at me and look at what I've created. I'm giving it up to you to guide me. And my job, more than anything now, is to be in alignment with you. To keep my vibration high, to keep my energy clear, to keep my ego under wraps. And to give it up to you. That's so much harder. The ego part of me, the part of me that just wants to go out and get it and make lots of money and be in a very secure place and take my family on holidays and build things on this land and feel this sense of security that allows me to feel free by having money. You know? That part of me very much wants to push ahead, but then there's the other part of me that's going, hey, surrender. God's got this. God's leading us. And we don't know what's right or wrong for us. The universe does. So we should give it up to the universe. Look after our health. Do the meditation. Do whatever the practices are to stay grounded and connected. And follow the guidance as it comes. Whether that comes from somebody coming and telling us, giving us an opportunity, or it's a feeling coming from the inside, or just a knowing, to just keep following that. For myself, I feel like that is the path I want to take, because when I think about the surrender, it just feels like this release of tension, weight, the need to control. But when I think of surrender, also there's this part of me of like, well, what if we don't go anywhere? You know, what if I just completely surrender and I'm enjoying my life here and everything starts deteriorating? And because everything's impermanent. What if, my kids are getting older and I don't have the resources to give them what they deserve? It's a tricky one. I don't have a conclusion for you. This is my first ever video and I don't know how well it's gone. I imagine there's going to be quite a bit of editing. I'm quite impressed with myself that I've got 2 camera angles. Anyway, nobody will probably watch this video, so we'll leave it at that. I love you. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more, if you want to see how this journey goes, if you want to see if I'm going to keep it up, if you want to see if I'm going to crash and burn, then click the subscribe and the little bell, and have a great day.